Ladies, gents, and NBs, you've just entered the Last Save Lounge, a weekly interview show all about the games that saved our progress and a little bit of us. I am your host, Aaron Turbo Hoodie Amendola. Boy, howdy, I am so happy that you're here because we have a special guest today. We're going to be talking to one of the developers of Frieda Is Changing, a new game hitting Kickstarter. We're going to be talking to Clara from Mux Games. But before we get into the show, if you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and click whatever doodly-do you gotta do to subscribe to the show. We are on a journey to become a giant, unwieldy podcast kaiju, and you can help us by subscribing to the show. As a reminder, new episodes every Tuesday wherever you get your podcasts, with clips and video episodes on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Folks, I'm really excited I'm excited about every episode. I love doing this show. But I was on Instagram and I came across an interesting new game that's going to be hitting Kickstarter called Frieda Is Changing, a detective point-and-click adventure. And if you know me, you know I love point-and-click games. And I looked at the devs and I realized the devs' social media presence is literally just the devs documenting their journey. And it was so charming. It was so poignant to see people really putting their all into this game. And I know what it's like to launch on Kickstarter. That is such a bundle of nerves. So I wanted to talk to them, which is why I'm happy to welcome Clara from Mux Games. Clara, I know it is 5 p.m. where you are. It is 10 in the morning here. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm so excited to be here. I'm, of course, a little bit sleepy. It's been a long day, but I'm so excited. It's just really cool.
I'm excited too. So I love your social media presence because it is so sincere. You know, I've seen you in a lot of the videos, and it'll have stuff like, I coded this thing for 5 hours in a game and I discovered it didn't work. Or I've been looking at this Kickstarter page, trying to make sure the formatting's correct, and I changed one thing and it all fell apart. And these are all very relatable things, I'm sure, to me, to other game devs. So I got to ask you, you're like 2 weeks out from launching on Kickstarter. How do you feel right now?
Got scared and excited and all of the things at once. It's crazy because as like an indie dev, you do so much and so much new things and you wear so many hats, and trying to get like all of that into your time is difficult. Making a game and doing a Kickstart and all of the work that goes into a Kickstart and all of these things. And it seems like all of this invisible work. And I guess that's why we do the social media too, to like show what it's actually like to try to do everything by yourself or like in a tiny team with 3 people. It's not just
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, I feel like people hear indie game dev, and the term indie game dev could mean a team of 1. It could mean, you know, like Expedition 33, that's a much larger team, you know, but a team of 3 people. What is your specific role on the dev team?
Oh, it's complicated because we're all like,
it's everything.
Yeah, we all love doing everything all at once. So for our first game, I did like what you would call, like directing for it. And for the second game, Luzi Kehle, our second, person on the team, is doing the directing. So I'm doing the tech lead for this game, and I'm enjoying it very much.
You're the tech lead, but you're also the person pushed out in front of social media.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, because you obviously have a background in game dev, that is your forte. What is it like putting on that marketing hat? Because it's 2 entirely different skill sets. You're good at it, but did you have like any qualms or apprehensions before stepping into that role?
Yeah, totally. It's so scary to like just show yourself online, and like also being scared of how to be received and people looking at you. And there's a lot that goes into it, and it does take like courage to do that. And like absolutely kudos to everyone who tries that to actually goes out there and put stuff on social media. I think I'm also like wasn't aware of how much work goes into it, and just filming and editing, but also researching and things. And it's time that doesn't go into the game. So it's just,
Sure.
You have to like project manage a lot at the same time.
Yeah, like you said, I know my way around podcasts. I know my way around AV, um, and trying to think about where to even start with game dev feels like being stranded on a desert island. I have no clue, and I feel like I hear all these stories about rich CEOs saying, "I have the perfect idea for a game. Who do I get to make it?" And it's like you don't get one person; you get scads of people to come together on one idea. Um, how did you get into game dev? You know, this isn't your first game, and Frieda is Changing has a very vibrant, very eye catching art style. Uh, how did you come to be a game dev?
I really loved illustrating and doing visual work. And then in my studies, I learned to code and I really loved that. I thought that that was like magic, learning to create things from nothing. And so I decided to put that together and start making games. And then I went to a film school that also has a game, like a course that they offer. And that's where I met Julius and Lucy, the two others from Mook's Games. And we worked together on projects, and it was really lovely to work with people who were just as excited as me about these things. And that's how we got together. And yeah, Frieda Is Changing. The art style is all Lucy, so she also has an illustration and graphic design background, and that's where that comes from.
It's really beautiful, and as listeners may know, I've really been going through this like teenagers in trouble gaming stint right now. I just played through the two Perfect Tides games. I went back and revisited Oxenfree, and Frida is Changing. Looks like a game that's right up my alley. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, totally. So Frieda Is Changing is a point and click adventure. It's very classic in these types of things, but we play as Frieda. She's a 14-year-old girl who is really furious. Why is she furious? Because 2 years ago, her sister went missing and nobody seems to care. And so suddenly she gets this urge to finally find out what happens. And so she goes on this journey and explores her little village, her little island, and asks villagers what's going on and digs up the past. But everyone wants it actually to keep the past buried. Um, and so she has a lot of like anger inside of her because she's constantly fighting with these people to find out what actually happened. And then she realizes actually she's turning into a werewolf. And if she can't find out what happened to her sister until the next full moon, the transformation will be complete.
I love that twist. It's great how like it's right at the end too, like looking for her sister. Nobody wants to talk about it. Oh yeah, and also turning into a werewolf, which really describes what it feels like to be a teenager. You know, you have all these problems piling on top of each other, and then, uh-oh, I'm gonna be a beast, you know?
Yeah, also really hairy and lots of pimples and all of this stuff going on.
Yeah, I recall the journey of growing up and just becoming like a real human. It feels a lot like becoming a werewolf. There's nothing you can do to stop it. It really looks just charming as all hell. Um, for you, with going to Kickstarter, uh, with putting on this whole campaign, how does that affect the game dev cycle? Because when you run a Kickstarter, that's kind of like your life for the 2, 3, 4 weeks that it's running. You know, everybody shifts in the marketing mode. You're just trying to get eyeballs on it. You're trying to convert those people into paid backers. How do you, as a studio, prepare for something like that?
Yeah, it's a big question. You like also in the beginning you ask yourself, is it worth it? Is it worth all of the time that I have to put in it then has to be put onto the end? And also is like a budget question, like
Hmm.
are we going to be able to make the time back, the money back that we put into this? Because I mean we do have to pay ourselves somehow also. So yeah, it is a big question. Um but we also decided, hey, for if you want to release an indie game, you're doing all of this work, this marketing and communication work anyways, or at least you should try to. So it felt like all of the work that we put into Kickstarter is beneficial to the game if it works out or not, and is anyway something that we should do. And So that's how we like decided on, hey, absolutely makes sense to do this Kickstarter campaign. But we also like had really clear rules that we can only allow ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't have one without the other. And uh, I've seen a lot of games eh, develop like scope creep during their Kickstarter because they're promising and over promising and overextending. Um, how do you, as a studio, work that into your pipeline? How do you keep that scope contained?
So we are in the lucky position that Frieda Is Changing, lots of it is already done.
Hmm.
So we are asking in our Kickstarter for the last mile funding. And this also means that there is, in a way, a cap because we already know around about what the game is going to be and everything that we need to be in it. We are very story focused in the games that we make, so it's all about the storytelling. And once you have like the story you want to tell, and it's all rounded or out in all of the edges, it doesn't make so much sense to like squish even more content into it just for the sake of it. So we really tried. So of course we also have stretch goals for our Kickstarter campaign, but we really tried to make it about the quality more than about the quantity. For example, being able to have live recordings for the music is like a very high up stretch goal, but would be absolutely wonderful to have a composer be able to do that and things like that.
I love that. Just enhancing what's already there rather than putting some filler in there. That's great. I am so excited. I'll definitely am going to back this game on Kickstarter. I love the art style. I love supporting small teams. This is really cool. Um, what I want to do is I want to take a break. I got to ask people for $1 to keep the show going. And when we come back, I want to ask you about your favorite game of all time. The Last Save Lounge is supported by Patreon at patreon.com/hoodieweather. By supporting Hoodie Weather, patrons get a bonus segment each week, a bundle of Hoodie Weather games, and ad-free episodes in your feeds. If times are tough, I think you are too, and you can support The Last Save Lounge by subscribing to the show right now. By having more subscribers, we can attract more guests and listeners, and be sure to rate and review us on your podcast app of choice. Tell your friends, tell your rivals, we're not picky. I will take your bully from 5th grade. I will take whatever listener you want to throw our way, and I will heal them with the power of video games. But that's not what we're here to talk about right now. We're here to talk to Clara from Mux Games about her favorite game of all time. So, Clara, I gotta ask, what is your favorite game of all time?
That is such a difficult question to answer. I really had to think long and hard about it because, well, we obviously do make story-driven games, and I love story-driven games. There are so many that have really touched me, like What Remains of Edith Finch or Florence. But then I also thought about, okay, is there one single experience or story that I can pick out that really, like, of course they all stuck with me, but all
Hmm.
for different reasons. And then I went back to like, what kind of games do I really return to again and again and again? And I really love puzzle games, and I have since I was a child. Like, I think I spent more than 200 hours playing Sudoku on Brain something from Nintendo on my little Nintendo
Oh,
DS.
Brain Age?
Yeah.
Brain Age was so good.
Right? And like, I really love really simple games that have just a really simple system and that are really then emergent in all of the puzzles that can be created from them. And a game that I really loved in the last couple of years that has stuck out to me was Baba Is You. Have you played it?
Oh, yeah. I never finished it. I'm too dumb to finish that game. But it was such a revelation because it is a game almost just about game dev. You're just changing the actions of the things that you're moving around. It's really brilliant. I should return to it. So Baba Is You is your pick. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it also so much, not only because of the game dev thing, but it's so perfect in itself, you know. I love programming games, so
Hmm.
things like 7 Billion Humans or Opus Magnum, but none of them come to quite as elegant, I find, as Baba Is You.
It's really elegant in the way that its visual style just really works. It's not one of those games that over illustrates what it's trying to show you. It's just really cute. It's really what you see is what you get. Uh, and it's on like everything now. It's even on phones. I absolutely love that. Uh, can you tell us a little bit about how that game operates? Because you're changing the rules of every stage that you're in, and it really causes you to think like outside your body in a lot of ways.
Totally. So it looks like a really basic puzzle game. There are lots of these where you just have to push blocks around to find your way out and things like this. But the rules of the game, so what different types of objects do, is also stated on the playing field. And then you can run into these little words and change them and move them around so that you yourself are building the rules of the world. And so, for example, if there would be written "wall is block," and you can move the wall out of the way, and suddenly this wall is broken, and suddenly you can walk through walls. But you can also make your own rules and put them together. And I think that's just so cool because you're suddenly completely taking apart this abstract idea that you have of what a game world is supposed to be. Yeah.
So, like as a player, I look at that game and I see a puzzle game, and it's like a puzzle logic game. It's very interesting. It's very new. But as a game dev, do you are you like looking through the matrix and seeing like this is what I deal with on a daily basis in games?
Totally, but I also think the game is looking through the matrix at me.
It's like the game is looking back at you and making you wonder about everything. Um, did this game come to you at any point in your life when you like really needed it? Was this a game that helped you in your journey becoming a game dev? It feels like the sort of one that would.
Yeah, totally. So in general, I return to puzzle gaming a lot when I'm really anxious and I don't know really what to do with myself. Because it's like a way to find comfort and safety in
Mhm.
like really clear rules and systems. And I remember that Baba, as you came to me when I just had finished my bachelor's and I didn't know what to do with myself. And when I applied to this film school where I could do some game stuff and be a game designer and things, and that really like helped me enforce that decision that like applying to this school was the right thing to do.
I love that. And it really goes to show you that, you know, we don't need to get into the whole games as art thing. I know where I stand on that line, but a game like this really shows you the way it can touch different audiences. You know, it inspires people to think about games as more than just Mario saving a princess at the end. It inspires you to think about the way things can change and the way that we can infect change in the world and make it look more like what we want to see. Um, I really empathize with what you said about playing puzzle games when you feel a little anxious because it's a very anxious time right now, especially in the US. And I play a lot of games right now that feel like power fantasies. You know, I'm playing Staros by Housemark right now, and I am at the very last boss. I beat the game and there's like a post game and it's like, "Oh, there's another boss actually." I am so happy because I feel powerful. I get to be Rahul Kohli. I can jump and dash and do all these things, but it doesn't necessarily calm me down. But where I'm finding a lot of calm right now are in cozy games like Pocopia, Tetris 99 is really great for me because of what you said. Those steadfast rules. You know what you're gonna get if you press a button. You know, there's not a lot of roguelike elements to it. Um, Frieda is changing feels like a story that's very personal and very familiar to you. Do you get to relieve any of that anxiety or panic by putting a personal story like this out for the world to share?
Absolutely. Of course, it's like when you do something that's all about like a personal story, it's really about working also through a lot of things in yourself. In that way, it's not necessarily calming because you do have to go through things that might have also been difficult for you at that time. That's why you're making this because you feel like it's a story that needs to be told. But there is also um, great comfort in um, feeling like showing something and showing it to other people and realizing that they themselves can get something out of this story because they also have similar experiences, things that have gone in on their lives and that can really relate to what you went through or the story that you are telling. And I think this is the most beautiful, most meaningful thing you can do with anything, any difficult thing that you are personally going.
Totally. I love that answer because I think the way that Baba E2 is helping you sort of calm down in your daily life and how it helped you when you just got your bachelor's, you're putting something out into the world that inevitably is going to connect with somebody. No, Mixtape just came out and I played through Mixtape, really enjoyed it. And one of the things I enjoyed about it most is I remember feeling like those protagonists in the game. I didn't necessarily love those protagonists, but I was like, wow, I've come a long way. But I remember when I was that person that would push my mixtapes on other people and try to make music fit the perfect moment. And looking at Frieda is changing, hearing all of the touchstones of the story, it reminds me a lot of just growing up in high school and undergoing all these different changes, and I know it's gonna connect with somebody, so maybe that will be somebody's Baba E2. Um, is there anything from Baba Is You that, like, kinda weaseled its way into Frida Is Changing? Do you see this game impacting your game dev life in any way?
I think that's difficult to say because we are three people, and
Mhm.
Frieda is Changing is extremely personal to Lucy, especially. Of course, we all love it and we all see a lot of ourselves in it. Um, and the interesting thing is that we also, all three of us, play very different games, and not necessarily only the games that we like make as a studio. And so it's like every single thing that we all do differently in games helps us together make, I think, be better game designers because we all come in with a different view on games and what games should be doing. And so I think there's a lot of help of like Julius, who plays lots of first person shooters, Lucy, who mostly plays story games, and me, who plays a lot of puzzle games, that we can like come together and find what makes our game design unique.
I love that. Uh, I'm just looking at the Baba Is You page now because 'cause I'm like, I wanna, like, ask a good question and tie it back, and I can edit this all day long. He was nominated for Seamus McNally and didn't win. The guy who just released Titanium Court won it 2 years in a row, and that's, like, mind-blowing to me. Uh, have you played Titanium Court at all? It Save it for after the Kickstarter because if you do it during the Kickstarter, you're not gonna wanna do anything else. Uh, it is but as a puzzle game, it is really bizarre and really comforting in a way because it's a match 3 game with tower defense thrown in, so it's got a lot of those puzzly elements, and I know I just said that puzzle games are great because you always get the outcome that you're expecting, but Titanium Court does this amazing rug pull where nothing ever happens the way that you're expecting it to, and you become acclimated to the chaos. You become, like, so entrenched in how weird it's going to be that when it's over, you kinda miss it, and it's just so bizarre. Do. Regarding Baba Is You, do you remember the first time you played it, and do you remember how it was different from other games?
I must be honest, I can't like remember the exact
Yeah,
first
that's a
time.
fine answer too.
Um, but I do remember that it was like the first time that I really understood games as being a flexible system that you can like create yourself. And that like really made me so excited about the medium itself and about just creating things. Um, and of course, it was also like really frustrating because it is a very hard game.
Yeah, like I said, I never finished it, but I totally understand what you mean because when you encounter a piece of media that is so different than what you've already been exposed to, I'll put this out there. I'm old. I remember the first time I played Final Fantasy VII on the PS1, and I was like, "Oh, games can be story based? Oh, okay, cool." And that kicked off my love of wanting bigger narratives in games. But recently, I've been coming back to these smaller indie games because that's where a lot of the innovation is. Are there any games coming out now that you play and you're like, this reminds me of something I want to make, or this reminds me of Baba Is You? I don't. I gotta look that up.
It's a really lovely indie game made from a two-person team from India. And it's this wonderfully cozy story, but that goes through a lot of complex emotions like grief and depression. And it really tells a story of a young woman who has lost someone dear to her just at the beginning of the pandemic. And it's really interesting to see like all of these emotions that she goes through, and also like reliving that time, but it was like in 2020, and like really relating hardly to everything that is going on. I can really recommend it. I'm not very far, but it's really touching.
I adore that, and I also see that on Steam. There's a bundle with Venba, which
Mm.
was one of my favorite indie games. I like want to learn how to make dosas because of Venba. It is such a beautiful game. Um, Yeah, I already added this to my wish list. This looks up my alley. My wife loves to make fun of me because I love sad games. I love sad video games. I love games that are able to tell me a story that I couldn't get from a book or a movie, like experiencing it and putting in the actual inputs. Totally up my alley.
Then you're
Uh,
gonna love our first game. It was once described as the best thing the best thing happened. No, the best thing to happen to Kleenex sales since the launch of OnlyFans.
that is an amazing pitch. I think that is going to be in the episode description. Can you tell me a little bit more about The Bear, a story from the world of Gra?
So this was our first game as an indie studio. So the first thing that we launched out there, and it's an interactive bedtime story, but for people of all ages. So like Frieda Is Changing, it's all about story and storytelling. And it was really created also from like during the pandemic times when I had a lot of trouble sleeping, and I realized that I wasn't the only adult who could maybe use a story bedtime.
Yeah. I feel like everybody around the world had a lot of those sleepless nights where you just look up at the sky and be like, is this going to be here tomorrow? Who knows? Uh, were you the illustrator for this one? It's really gorgeous. It's very evocative of like, I'm watching a lot of Ponyo with my daughter right now, and it's like the only thing she wants to watch. But the bear reminds me a lot of the water from Ponyo, which I absolutely love that. A 40-minute bedtime story experience for everyone. I'm going to download this tonight and cry myself to sleep. That's fantastic. Uh, well, I think we are going to wrap up this episode of Last Save Lounge. But Clara, I really enjoyed hearing your journey with Baba Is You, with getting Frieda Is Changing to the finish line with Kickstarter. We're going to be releasing this episode right around when uh, that goes live. So hopefully we can draw some people over to your campaign. But um, if you wanted to plug where people should go to check out Mux right now, where should we send them?
Yeah, totally. So obviously check out the Kickstarter page for Frieda Is Changing. You can follow it, and then you'll be one of the first to know once it goes live, and you won't miss out on the early bird deals. But also like follow us on Instagram, on TikTok, wherever you can find us. We'd be happy to have you there.
And we'll, listeners, you may have already seen them, but we'll put up some stuff in our stories and videos directing people to at least get notified on launch, because that really helps devs out a lot more than you'd think. It's the same thing as wish listing on Steam, everywhere else. You just want to get that big surge of momentum on day one. Clara, thanks so much for joining me. I am reminded I have Baba Is You on my Switch. It's a great reason to fire that up again. And listeners, thank you for listening to The Last Save Lounge. I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I did. The Last Save Lounge is supported and produced by Hoodie Weather, creating comfy games and podcasts broken in like your favorite hoodie. You can support Hoodie Weather by heading to patreon.com/hoodieweather and becoming a patron for just $1. We'll see you next week.